After getting reincarnated in another world over some rumor from the internet, Shigeru becomes an almighty god after maxing out all his status. This story begins with Shigeru, who is ugly and mocked by everyone. One time, while boarding a train, a girl accused him of touching her even though he didn't. Because of his looks, they threw him out, and he was ordered by the court to pay a fine. He agreed, thinking it was easier than a long trial, but he thought wrong. As a result, he lost his job. After some years, the girl who accused him got arrested for false accusations. Because of the trauma, he couldn't live normally or approach people, so he became a shut-in. One night, while he was scrolling, he found a rumor about how to get to another world. He thought it was just a joke and laughed at it, but then he thought, why not? The condition was, at 2 a.m., face your computer north, open the window, raise both arms, and wait. When the time was 2 a.m., his computer got a notification that said, proceed to next screen to live a new life. Returning will cost half your life. He thought it was a virus, then clicked next. He saw his status and looks. He adjusted his look value to -155 and clicked next. He was given bonus points. He could get more if he wrote something on the special note. He started writing negative things like reducing earning, losing 10% HP if he touches a girl, and gaining 10,000 times experience. For doing that, he received 100 trillion points. While he was thinking about how to distribute them, time was up, his computer shut down, and he disappeared. When he opened his eyes, he was in another world. When he looked into a mirror, he was shocked, and there seemed to be others who had been reincarnated with him. He turned around and saw them in their underwear. One of the girls sneezed. The guy next to her gave her his shirt. When Shigeru saw that the other girl was cold too, he gave her his shirt, but after she looked at his face, she rejected him. They introduced themselves. The handsome guy's name was Seiji. The innocent-looking one didn't share her name, and the one who refused him was called Seika. He told them he was 16, but they told him he didn't look like one. Then Seiji asked them if they had come because of the rumor on the internet. They all said they did. Shigeru started to look around and found a drawer. When he opened it, he saw a coin. When he touched it, the coin disappeared. Then he remembered he reduced his earnings. Seiji asked him if he had found anything. Shigeru said nothing. Then he asked him for his name, and he told him it was Shigeru. After looking through the house, they found equipment. When Shigeru picked up a cloth, he thought it couldn't fit, but it fit perfectly, even for the others too. Then Seiji told them they could divide everything except coins, since there were only 7. Seiji thought Shigeru took it, but Shigeru told them he didn't need the money, and they could divide it among themselves. Seiji hesitated, but Seika said, let's split it because we are the ones who found the coins. Then Shigeru asked them in exchange to give him an axe, but they told him he couldn't have it. Seiji even made excuses not to give him. Then they decided to distribute the weapons by rock, paper, scissors. Shigeru was left with a staff. They shook hands, but Shigeru refused to avoid losing his 10% HP. Then they opened up a map and decided to go to the next town. When they opened the door to leave, they found a monster. Seiji quickly killed it. When they looked outside, there were more monsters. Seiji told Seika to string her bow and support, and Shigeru to protect her, and went to battle the monsters. They were defeating the monsters easily, but Seika couldn't string her bow. A monster attacked Shigeru from behind. When he tried to attack, it didn't deal any damage to the monster. Shigeru was shocked, but then remembered he didn't distribute his points because time was up. Then he killed the monster, and a status window appeared. He was level 31. He was shocked but realized his experience was 10,000 times. Then the others leveled up too. They put their points on strength and stamina, but Shigeru put trillion points in each. After he did that, some light appeared above him, and his status window malfunctioned, and his class changed to Almighty God. Then he saw a monster attacking him, but it did no damage. Curious about his strength, he flicked the monster in the head and sent it flying, creating a strong wind. Then he saw Seika still struggling with the string, while the others were killing the monsters. She started crying, and Shigeru couldn't watch anymore. He went to help her. She agreed and gave him the bow. He remembered a video he watched when he was a shut-in and strung her bow. As thanks, she gave him an arrow to take a shot. Then, he used a skill called Ultimate Strike and shot the arrow, but it was sent high. When Shigeru thought his accuracy was low, the arrow created a magic circle in the sky above the monsters. Then a golden dragon came out and killed all the monsters, shocking everyone. When Seika asked him, he answered her that he was in the archery club. Then another monster came, and Seiji asked Seika to assist them. She excitedly started firing arrows, but they all just flew away, not hitting any monsters. She got depressed. When she ran out of arrows, then Shigeru created new ones and gave her, but it was pointless. She just fired them away. Then they finished all the monsters and went to the next town. They got hungry and started looking for food. Suddenly, they found hamburgers. They were confused about how hamburgers were in another world, but they went in. Shigeru turned and went another way. He got hungry and sat to rest. Then a cat showed up. He was about to pet her, but stopped and thought, "Is she a female?" Then suddenly, Seika came out of nowhere and scared him. He fell into the water and got wet. When he was drying his clothes, Seika took out a big hamburger and gave it to him for helping her string her bow and the arrows. When he was taking it, he accidentally touched her. He felt pain, and his HP started to decrease. He got 58 trillion damage, equal to the power to destroy a planet. But Seika started crying, saying, "I brought it to you, but you threw it away." He apologized and told her he would eat it. She refused and gave him another one, but he asked her, "Isn't that yours?" She replied, "I'm rich, I could get another." She accepted it, and while eating, he said to himself he would stay with her to pay her back for this. The others came, and they started their journey.
In the bustling town, Seika dragged Shigeru into an armory shop, her eyes gleaming as she purchased a hefty stockpile of arrows. Shigeru watched in awe, knowing he could produce arrows with his skill, but when Seika teased him about not buying any, she quickly remembered his empty pockets and laughed it off. Soon, their companions rejoined them, announcing they'd found an inn. Shigeru, stubborn as ever, insisted he'd rather sleep in the park, but Seika grabbed his collar, declaring she'd cover his stay, pulling him along with no harm done to his tattered clothes. At the inn, while the girls showered, Shigeru sat alone, his mind racing with thoughts of making money. He opened his status window, scrolling through his skills to find one that could turn a profit. The next morning, he surprised everyone by bringing food to the table. When asked how he managed it, he quipped about slaving away, though in truth, he'd bartered his conjured arrows for goods. Grateful, the group thanked him, and Shigeru muttered to himself that he'd repaid his debt to Seika. Eager for coin, as monsters dropped none, they decided to venture to a nearby cave for their next quest. On their way, a stranger approached, offering to guide them through the cave. Introducing himself as Kayashiro, a fellow reincarnated soul, he handed them a one-time discount item and pitched his services as a guide for new reincarnates. Shigeru, ever wary, left the decision to Seiji, who haggled and hired Kayashiro for 120 riras a day. Kayashiro equipped them and led the way. As they traveled, they encountered monsters. Seika, firing arrows with her usual gusto, missed her shots until Kayashiro offered her pointers, turning her aim deadly accurate. The others joined the hunt, and during a break, they trained under Kayashiro's guidance. He turned to Shigeru, asking if he'd join, but Shigeru dismissed his staff skill as useless. Kayashiro countered that its final ability was extraordinary, though Shigeru recalled a warning from his status window: using it against a giant orc would devastate a 200-kilometer radius, potentially wiping out everything from Saitama Prefecture to the Pacific Ocean. He'd cancelled it then, wary of its power. Kayashiro urged him to fight actively, warning he'd end up retired like himself. Curious, Shigeru asked why Kayashiro retired. The guide revealed he'd been part of a mercenary group but quit, unable to keep up, especially after his leader became a king with a level of 80 and an average stat of 160. Shigeru muttered that 3-digit stats were weak, but Kayashiro, misinterpreting, apologized for overwhelming him and encouraged perseverance. They reached the cave, an ancient ruin glowing with eerie beauty. Seika, trembling like a child, hesitated at the entrance but grew excited inside, only to revert to childish fear when Kayashiro warned her to stay alert. Seiji, intrigued, asked her real-world age. Stammering, Seika admitted she was 17, not 16, while Seiji revealed he was 30. They pressed deeper, battling monsters under Kayashiro's navigation until they reached a grand door. Seika, eager, rushed forward but froze when Kayashiro asked her level. At level 3, she was no match for the boss beyond, and terrified, she hid behind the others. Seiji suggested they call it a day, thanking Kayashiro, who praised his leadership and led them to a special event, a safe room impervious to monsters or magic, crafted by another reincarnate. Inside, Saika marveled at a table of snacks, but Shigeru's status window flashed a warning. The bottle Kayashiro offered contained sleeping gas. Shigeru, immune to it, muttered about the poison but stayed silent. Seiji declined the drink, wanting to return to town before sunset, and Shigeru muttered approval of his caution. Kayashiro, disappointed, suggested celebrating in the village instead. Seiji removed his helmet, apologizing for doubting Kayashiro's generosity. Kayashiro offered him the drink, and he accepted it. Seiji began to blame himself for suspecting such kindness, while Saika gleefully asked for seconds. Shigeru, wary of the gas's glow revealing his antidote magic, stalled with conversation, asking about their past lives. The group fell silent, shocked, and Saika called his name sadly. Shigeru apologized for his misstep, and Seiji shared his story. Fed up with school, he left home, started a successful company, but was misled by a salesman, Shigeru, it turned out, who advised him to relax. Following this, his company thrived, but an AI project led to its bankruptcy and his mental breakdown, prompting his arrival in this world with a vow not to fail again. He asked Shigeru's last name, but Shigeru lied, saying Sasaki. They all fell asleep, but Shigeru stayed awake, noticing Kayashiro and his group chaining them up. Shigeru confronted about his past, but before he could act, Seiji awoke, warning the captors not to touch them. Kayashiro mocked Seiji's defiance, saying it was all he could do. Shigeru muttered about Seiji getting caught in his attack. Seiji fought free but was overpowered. Kayashiro revealed this world was for losers and called them naive, ordering their capture. Shigeru leaped up, using his pig jump skill to crash into the enemies, urging Seiji to leave it to him. Seiji refused to abandon his friend, declaring he could defeat the gang with one hit. Kayashiro scoffed, ordering his men to take Shigeru first, but Shigeru's unharmed resilience stunned them. Kayashiro threatened Seiji to surrender, but Shigeru attacked, silencing him. Seiji, glowing with power, chanted an oath to protect his friends, a power fueled by anger. Kayashiro ignored his warning, attacking, but Shigeru shielded Seiji, urging him to show their strength. Seiji completed his chant, transforming into the indomitable hero Aldine, ready to face the foes.
Kiyoshiro stood in shock as he witnessed Seiji's transformation. With a newfound sense of power, Seiji charged at him but stopped short when Kiyoshiro questioned his intentions. Seiji calmly replied, "I won't be the one to punish you. The law will take care of that. It's my chance to atone for my past." Surprisingly, Kiyoshiro lowered his weapon in agreement, and as Seiji turned to leave, he warned, "If you betray me again, I won't show you mercy." Kiyoshiro smirked, secretly picking up his sword and charging at Seiji, only to be thwarted by Shigeru, who stumbled into his path. As Shigeru fell, Kiyoshiro's lackeys began to beat him, but he felt nothing. With a flick of his finger, he launched a booger that destroyed a nearby wall, leaving everyone stunned. Shigeru quickly spun the tail, claiming it was Seiji who unleashed such power. Praising him for it, Seiji was taken aback when Kiyoshiro inquired if he truly did it. Shigeru embellished the story, saying a white eagle descended in anger to save him from peril. Hearing this, Kiyoshiro and his gang knelt in apology, with Kiyoshiro even shedding tears. Shigeru instructed them to line up and told Seiji to slap them with his passionate fist so they could understand the pain they caused. Seiji agreed, but his transformation faded away. When asked why, he explained that his power stemmed from anger and he no longer felt that emotion. Reluctantly, he began slapping them one by one, leaving Shigeru speechless. Later, Seiji took Seika to a safe place. Struggling with exhaustion, Shigeru muttered an apology, saying, "Touching a girl could kill me." As Seiji collapsed, Kiyoshiro smirked, whispering that the poison had finally taken effect, giving them a chance against him. Turning to Shigeru, Kiyoshiro offered him a chance to join them, promising women in exchange. However, Shigeru broke free from his chains, declaring that Seiji was stronger than him, leaving Kiyoshiro and his gang visibly shaken by his unexpected sense of justice. Shigeru then took Seiji to rest. They later claimed a bounty of 100,000 riras from Kiyoshiro's gang, leaving everyone astonished. Seiji suggested they share the money, but the girls hesitated, having slept through the fight. He insisted on splitting it, and when Seika asked Shigeru if he had slept too, Seiji explained how Shigeru had used his body to protect him, earning praise from the girls. Seiji offered Shigeru his share, but Shigeru declined, claiming his earning rate was 1/10,000. He remarked that Seiji was a spendthrift, as his money vanished quickly. Shigeru wanted someone he could trust to manage it, so Seika stepped in, suggesting she handle Shigeru's funds. He agreed, and she took his share. They decided to go to a restaurant, where Seika treated Shigeru to a burger, curious if he liked it. He learned she had just tried one for the first time 2 days ago. Suddenly, she inquired about his stats, and when he expressed boredom, she revealed that lowering his looks could increase his bonus points. Shigeru was shocked to learn she had lowered hers to -16, and she asked if she was pretty, revealing she had requested to look cute. Feeling regretful for not asking to appear like a movie star, Shigeru noticed Seika eyeing a cat. When he encouraged her to pet it, she made an angry face but soon began jumping for joy. Declaring she could stand now, she ran to the cat. Wow! Shigeru excused himself to the restroom, where he cried, assuming Seika was disabled in the real world. He vowed to help her with his almighty god skills. Seika soon informed him that the others were waiting, and they returned to discuss their future occupations. Seiji decided to be a hero, Shigeru an epic fighter, and Seika mage, to which she eagerly agreed. They equipped themselves and planned to head to the largest city, the Principality of Valeria, agreeing to meet the next day before dispersing. Later, Seika asked the other girl if she could play jump rope, and they went to the park. A flashback revealed Seika at a weapon shop choosing mage equipment, initially opting for nunchucks but happily settling on a jump rope, much to the shopkeeper's delight. Back in the present, Seika showed the girl how to jump rope, offering encouragement. When Seika nicknamed her Rize by combining French and English words, Rize blushed and continued jumping, impressing a gathering crowd. However, as the attention grew, Seika began to cry. Distressed by the overwhelming attention on Rize, Shigeru tried to comfort Seika, but was ridiculed by townsfolk for his looks. Rize, wanting only to make Seika happy, felt bad, and Shigeru empathized, saying, being ignored is hard. Upon returning to the inn, Seika found a letter under her door from Rize, apologizing for the earlier incident. Seika rushed out to find Rize, who was hiding, and wanted to talk to Shigeru. They retreated to a room, where Rize began to grovel in apology. Shigeru, puzzled, asked why she was sorry. Rize revealed that Shigeru's last name wasn't Sasaki and that he was the man Seiji had been talking about, leaving Shigeru shocked. Shigeru, stunned, asked Rize why she thinks he's the Mr. Wise Seiji mentioned. Rize reveals her unique skill. She can see people's status windows, including their names and special notes. Shigeru was embarrassed by what he wrote in his special note. Rize asks if he knows about Seika's real-world body, and Shigeru admits he has some idea. Rize drops a bombshell. She's the reason Seika's body was harmed in the real world. She explains that she met Seika during an AI program that malfunctioned, resulting in an accident due to a misunderstanding. Seika was injured because Rize couldn't stop it. Guilt-ridden, Rize wrote in her special note that she wants to understand others, hoping to atone in this world. Shigeru, curious, asks if it was the AI that was developed by Seiji's company. Rize reveals another shocker. Seiji is her brother, but she's changed so much that he hasn't recognized her. She sought Shigeru after hearing about him from Seiji, calling their meeting fate. Shigeru questions her honesty, and Rize swears she can't lie, it's the price for her power. She offers to help Shigeru use his almighty god skills to aid Seika and Seiji. Shigeru mutters he doesn't need help, but admits leaving Seiji, a straightforward guy, and Seika, an innocent girl, would stress him out. He agrees to her help, and Rize, grateful, cuts her hair as a symbol of her new beginning. The next morning, as the party prepares to leave for the Principality of Valeria, Rize shows off her new haircut, and Seika calls it lovely. On the road, they battle monsters, with Seika wielding magic, Seiji protecting her, and Rize supporting from afar with her bow. Their teamwork shines, and as the sun sets, Seiji suggests camping. Seika, thrilled for her first camping experience, chooses fishing over lighting the fire. While fishing with Shigeru, she confesses she doesn't want to be a crybaby anymore. Shigeru, wise and gentle, tells her crying is good, it's not just sadness, but a sign of a moved heart. Remembering his past, he told Seika some people forget how to cry. Seika, touched, starts crying. Rize joins them, asking if they caught any fish. When they admit they didn't, Rize expertly shoots fish with her bow and hands them to Seika to bring to Seiji. Alone with Shigeru, Rize praises him, saying Seika always smiles around him and that Seiji was right about his ability to bring joy. Shigeru, flustered, asks if she's over-complimenting, but Rize insists everything runs smoothly with him around. Then Reese tells him not to reveal her identity to the others, fearing it might drive them apart, and asks for time. Shigeru agrees, and they return to camp, where Seika and Seiji are cooking dinner. Over dinner, Shigeru asks Seiji about their journey's goal, wondering if it's to defeat the Demon Lord. Seiji admits he's unsure, but says their current aim is to reach Valeria. Shigeru praises him, calling him it's expected from a former president, when a noise interrupts them. They find a wounded woman, Ria, who wakes from a nightmare about being chased by two men trying to kill her. In a flashback, we see her in the real world. Her boyfriend dumped her, her friends mocked her looks, and she wrote in her special note a vow to kill all pretty women. Back in the present, Ria wakes up and asks who they are, and tries to move, but the party urges her to rest. She glares at Seika with resentment. Seiji suggests moving her to the fire to warm up. A flashback shows when they found Ria, and Shigeru goes to fetch water. Reese stops him and warns him that Ria's special note reveals her hatred for pretty women and her intent to kill them, putting Seika in danger. Back to present, Seiji asks her name, and she confirms it's Ria. Seika offers her food, but Ria looks at Seika with a hateful stare, tries to reach for a weapon, only for Reese to disarm her preemptively. Seiji asks why she's injured, and Ria explains her party was attacked, leaving her separated. Feeling sympathy, Seiji promises to protect her until they reach Valeria. Suddenly, Ria winces in pain, claiming her wound feels hot, and asks Seika to help her take her to the lake. Seiji offers to assist, but Ria snaps that she needs help bathing and accuses him of being lewd. Seika, confused, asks Seiji if he's lewd, turning him to stone with embarrassment. Shigeru tries to help, but Ria threatens to scream if he touches her, and Seika asks if he's lewd too, leaving Shigeru and Seiji depressed. Reese, with a scary expression, offers to help Ria, but Ria refuses instantly. Innocent Seika agrees to help, even bringing her weapon for protection, and they head to the lake. Reese follows discreetly. Seiji stops Shigeru from following, calling it inappropriate, and suggests they eat and wait. Shigeru, worried, performs super-fast side jumps, creating afterimages to track Seika. Seiji, stunned, asks if he's vibrating, but Shigeru uses a skill to put him to sleep and follows the girls. At the lake, Ria calls Seiji handsome, but unripened. Seika, not understanding the term, describes him as strict yet thoughtful. Ria mutters she wishes she could join them, then pulls a weapon on Seika, declaring she kill all pretty women. Seika, terrified, asks what she did wrong, and Ria admits it's not personal. Her special note compels her to kill pretty women because, in her past world, they ruined her life, so she took it out on her special note. Seika, crying, asks why she wrote such a note, but Ria says there's no going back and tells her to die. As Ria attacks, Reese shoots her weapon away, forcing her to retreat. When Ria tries to reach for her weapon, Shigeru grabs her hand, ready to strike, but a blinding light interrupts. A wing and halo emerge from Seika, transforming her into an angelic figure, leaving everyone in awe. Everyone stood in awe. Seika's transformation, it was unlike anything they had ever seen. The air itself seemed to still as she approached Ria. "I don't want you to be in pain," Seika said softly, her voice gentle. Ria tried to back away, her body trembling, but the pain was too much. Gritting her teeth, "If you come any closer, I might kill you," she warned. Her voice shook with a bitterness that cut deep. "Those special notes, they've ruined my sanity. Seika, even if you think there's no way, there might be. I'll help you find it. I promise." Before Ria could react, Seika's hands began to glow. Her skill ignited light, weaving into her touch, and in an instant, Ria's severed arm was restored. Gasps filled the air. Shigeru, wide-eyed, muttered in disbelief. "Even the power of the Almighty God can't do that." Seika simply smiled faintly. "In my special note, I wrote that if a friend is hurt, I want to heal them as an angel." Her tone softened. "Before I was reincarnated, I had a missing eye, a huge scar across my face. I know what it's like, so don't give up." But Ria's expression hardened. "I'm not your friend." And with that, she turned and ran. The transformation faded. Seika's knees buckled and she collapsed. In the forest, Ria's sword scraped against the dirt as she began to carve something into Thetri. Her hands trembled. Then, without warning, she turned the blade toward herself, but before the strike could land, Shigeru came running and stopped her. Ria glared at him. "Did you come to finish me off?" Shigeru's voice was firm but calm. "If I did, Seika would be sad." Instead, he offered something unexpected. I have a deal for you. You'll live, but lose your eyesight. Ria let out a humorless laugh. Too good to be true. Shigeru didn't smile. It's the highest skill of darkness, one that seals away one of the 5 senses. Her eyes widened. Who exactly are you? This seal, Shigeru continued, will only vanish if struck by a skill of light. Ria with suspicious eyes asked him, why are you going so far? To protect Seika? Shigeru looked away for a moment. At first, I planned to leave the party. But Seika, despite my ugliness, extended her hand to me. I'm just repaying my debt. A bitter smile touched Ria's lips. I'm jealous of her. I wish I had party members like that. She exhaled slowly. Fine, I'll accept your deal. Back at camp when Seika awoke, she blinked in confusion. She didn't remember what had happened. Shigeru knelt beside her. Don't reveal your power to anyone. Keep it between us. Why? She asked. There are bad people out there. If they knew, they'd come for you, he said gravely. Only reveal it to someone you truly trust. And if you ever feel danger, call me. I'll come running. Seika's lips curled into a small smile. Thank you. She extended her hand. Shigeru hesitated, his own pain gnawing at him, but he shook her hand anyway. The next morning they told Seiji that Ria had left during the night. She'd left a message for Seika. Thank you for healing my scar. The journey continued. The Principality of Valeria lay ahead. Seika found herself wondering, what kind of place will it be? Shigeru's flashback. Last night the memory played back in his mind, talking with Riz about Seika's transformation. How did you not know when you can read people's windows? Shigeru asked. Ria Zeraplete. Her window. It didn't even have a specific description of the transformation. What about Seiji? He pressed. Riz's face darkened. A very thorough, detailed one. Shigeru's eyes narrowed. Can I read his special notes? Her body started to shake. I just want to know his weakness, Shigeru explained. Since a great power always comes with a huge drawback, her gaze dropped to the ground. Fine, I'll write it down. But Shigeru told her to only give it to him after Seiji decides our goal. Since Seiji announced his aim is to collect information and expand their options, Shigeru's mind worked quickly. If Kyociro's peer became king, then reincarnated people can take the throne. If Seiji becomes king, people like Seika could live in safety. Riz tilted her head. Why not you? Shigeru smirked. With my 1 in 10,000 earning rate, I'd bankrupt the kingdom in a week. Back to the present, the city was in sight when monsters blocked the road. Charge and breakthrough, Seiji commanded. The party surged forward except Seiji, who stayed behind. My shoes untied, he said. Shigeru blinked at his feet. He wasn't even wearing laces. But Seika, believing him, darted toward the monsters. Shigeru reacted fast, summoning a wall of wind around them. Don't rush in alone, he barked. He turned back and froze. Seiji was screaming mid-transformation. Then, suddenly, he stopped, remembering that transformation would tear his expensive clothes. He quickly stripped them off, then resumed his dramatic screaming. The rest of the group climbed a nearby fortress. Monsters began scaling the walls, Riz and Seika cutting them down, while Shigeru's buffs kept them strong. For the others, Shigeru molded soldiers from mud to fight. Finally, Seiji completed his transformation and sprinted toward them. Riz's face twisted in disgust. Ooh, my brother's cringe is unbearable. Seika tilted her head. Who is that? I am a wandering hero, Aldean. Seiji declared heroically. Leave this to me. Shigeru and Riz remained unimpressed, but for Seika, this was her first time seeing Aldean in action. She was awestruck. Then a golem appeared. Aldean's strike bounced harmlessly off. Thinking fast, he launched himself into the sky and came crashing down, crushing the swarm of monsters beneath him. After the battle on the way to the city, Seika started to tell Seiji about Aldean. Then sheezed. Seiji, where were you earlier? Seiji scratched his head. Guess I got hit and passed out, but his eyes gleamed with mischief. Hey, what was his name again? Shigeru, watching the exchange, began to seriously rethink his plan of making Seiji king.
The party finally arrived at the bustling city. Towering above everything stood a magnificent castle, and right beside it, a job center. As they gazed at it, Shigeru couldn't help but be reminded of his old, soul-crushing corporate job. Before anything else, they returned their pack animal to its owner. But the moment the man laid eyes on Shigeru, is this one yours too? He asked, gesturing at Shigeru like he was some sort of beast. Shigeru's glare at the man and the owner instantly paled. That's when Seika, ever the cheerful one, chimed in. Hey, Shigeru. I just found an animal that looks exactly like you. Shigeru's face twitched. So ugly, he muttered under his breath. As they toured the lively streets, Seika stumbled into a quaint toy shop, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. They later climbed to a high vantage point, where the whole city unfolded before them. But while the others admired the view, Shigeru's mind was elsewhere. Our biggest problem now is money, he thought. I want to help Saika and Seiji with my almighty power, but it's not enough just with arrow production skills. I need to create a source of income for them, without revealing what I'm truly capable of. That night, Seiji returned with news after asking around. Making money here works just like it did back in the old world, he said. Shigeru's eyebrow arched. Isn't there some kind of reward for defeating monsters? We've taken down plenty on the way here. Seiji shook his head. We did it voluntarily, so it doesn't count unless there's an official request. Shigeru then said, well, I saw some high-paying jobs listed at the job center. They're offering between 10,000 and 28,000 riras, and no experience required. Seiji narrowed his eyes. And they're not exploitative? Shigeru chuckled darkly. Oh, they're exploitative enough that Saika would probably fall for it. Out of nowhere, Seiji grinned. In that case, why don't we go to a casino? At first, Shigeru wasn't sure what he meant, but Seiji explained when he asked around no one made obscene amounts of money at the casino, meaning all types of people must frequent the place. If we can get information from people in the casino, we can find the best path forward in this world for all of us. Shigeru, will you help me? Seiji asked. Fine, Shigeru agreed, and they made their way to the casino. The moment they entered, the lavish interior swallowed them. A waitress approached Shigeru with a tray of drinks, but her face twisted with disgust just looking at him. No, thank you, he said calmly. She turned on her heel, muttering curses under her breath. Meanwhile, Saika was already at the tables, and she was winning big. Shigeru, look, she cheered, holding up her pile of chips. Seiji was off somewhere, asking questions, but the good times didn't last. Moments later, Saika returned with a sad face. I lost, she pouted. They stepped away to eat, and Shigeru asked, how much were you betting? Saika tilted her head. I don't know. Shigeru froze. How much is left from the 50,000 riras you had? She held out her hand. 30,010 riras. Shigeru stared in disbelief. A small chunk of his hairs fall out. That's when a strange man approached them. I'm Kajita, the owner of this casino, he said smoothly. He looked directly at Saika. Are you rich? Saika puffed out her chest proudly. Yes. Shigeru groaned internally. I should have warned her. Kajita invited her to speak privately. Shigeru quickly stepped in. Mind if I tag along? Kajita smirked. Not at all. In his office, Kajita began praising Saika's gambling skills. The innocent girl was glowing with joy. Then, with a flourish, Kajita revealed a golden card. This is a special membership, he said. It grants access to thrilling games and exclusive rates. Normally, it requires a 20,000 rira enrollment fee, but for you, I'll waive both the enrollment and the annual fee. Saika paused. Will the annual fee be returned next year? Kajita chuckled. It's free for life. I want you to be a member. Shigeru quietly advised her, talk it over with Seiji first. Saika nodded. I'll let you know after discussing it with my friends. She left the office. As soon as she was gone, Riz appeared and told Shigeru, you're not a good match for him. His special note says, I won't be fooled anymore. I will destroy rich people. Back at the inn, they explained everything to Saika, warning her that Kajita was bad news. Even Shigeru, the Almighty One, called him dangerous. Seiji shared his findings. Those high-paying jobs Shigeru saw? They were all connected to the casino. Different contact names, same destination. And not a single applicant had ever been hired, except one, a detective's aide who reported gamblers on a spree. Then Riz revealed something she'd found behind the casino. When they unwrapped it, it was a human finger. The group concluded the casino was involved in something truly dark. Shockingly, Saika volunteered to investigate since the manager had shown interest in her. Seiji supported the idea, while Riz and Shigeru were speechless. Later that night, Shigeru and Riz met on the roof. Why did you say Kajita is even too much for me, the almighty god? Shigeru asked. Riz explained, he seems able to see through any lie. So you're not sure? Shigeru pressed. His window was abnormal, deformed, patched up, she said. Shigeru remembered Ria being controlled by her special note, but Riz added, Kajita is using the casino as a weapon of hatred. Shigeru smirked. We came here to make money, and now we're exposing an evil deed. Riz glowed like a flame. When evil appears before me, I shall beckon them to darkness as an envoy of hell. The next day, they returned to the casino. All eyes turned to Saika, who looked every bit the celebrity. Kajita greeted her with respect. So, about my offer. Saika smiled slyly. If you have something worthy of me, I don't mind becoming a member. Kajita's eyes gleamed. Then please, follow me to the VIP room. You may bring your guard. And with that, they stepped into the lion's den. On the outside, Riz was worried sick, but Seiji told her to have faith in them. Meanwhile, Kajita escorted Saika to the VIP room. He explained that beyond the casino was the extra stage and told her to show her golden card to enter. Shigeru muttered that they needed to be careful about what they said since Kajita could see through lies. Curious, Kajita asked Saika how much she planned to gamble, and when she replied more than $1 million, it tickled him for some reason. Eventually, they reached the extra stage, a sight to behold, with more staff members than customers. There, they were introduced to Kato, a flabby man who would be their escort. Kajita approached Shigeru, asking if he wanted to play to get information out of him, but Shigeru wasn't a fool. He realized Kajita's scheme and told him he was broke, while secretly using his skill to spy on the staff. Not giving up, Kajita pressed further, implying Shigeru was strong and trying to uncover his level. Shigeru responded with a vague answer he had perfected during his salesman days, claiming he had scattered his points carelessly into areas like magic defense. This made Kajita assume Shigeru was a warrior. Suddenly, Kajita excused himself, telling Saika to enjoy the stage. After he left, Saika asked Kato to recommend her a game. While Kato tried to explain the rules, Shigeru nearly had a heart attack upon spotting someone resembling his former boss. At the same time, he noticed something in Kajita's hand mentioning a liberation plan. Saika, not understanding the rules, bombarded Kato with questions, giving Shigeru the chance to fake a stomachache and ask to leave. Before heading out, he signaled Saika to keep Kato busy, and she pinned him down, demanding he properly explain the rules. In the meantime, Shigeru transformed into a bat and followed Kajita, successfully infiltrating the restricted area and creating a connected space in case Saika needed him. Kajita stood before a strange statue and began revealing his tragic backstory. As a child, his family wasn't wealthy, but they were honest and happy. One day, they were killed in a car accident after refusing to pay protection fees to a local gang. Years later, Kajita took revenge, eradicating the gang. Afterward, he nearly ended his own life, but then he received an invitation to another world. Yet even this new world was corrupted, with the rich trampling the weak. So he resolved to punish them and lead them to liberation. Right then, Kota reported that Saika was trying to leave. Kajita immediately ordered Tactic 13, telling them to let her win so she'd get addicted. But one man didn't understand, and Kajita's skill suddenly activated, turning him into a mummy. Furious, Kajita ordered the detective aide to dispose of the body, then turned to Kota and asked if he understood Tactic 13. Kota explained that it meant to let her save her high-rate wins until she drowned in the game. Kajita praised him for understanding but warned him never to lie to him. Shigeru muttered to himself that Kajita's goal was punishing the rich under the guise of liberation, and realized the trash cleanup job posting was really for disposing of dead bodies. Shigeru returned to regroup with Saika and found her winning big, more than 2 million riras. She then bet it all on one spot, but since Tactic 13 was in play, the staff had to let her win. Kota rushed to inform Kajita. Shigeru also realized that even though his own earning rate was low, it didn't apply to the casino's coins. Saika snapped him out of his thoughts, but Shigeru still felt sick, having just witnessed murder for the first time in his life. Kajita soon appeared, telling Saika she could win even more money if she gambled in the Colosseum. He led the way, revealing their biggest game, Monster Hunter. Monsters fought with their lives on the line while gamblers bet on which one would win. Shigeru noticed these weren't normal monsters, and Kajita explained they were synthesized in the casino. Growing suspicious, Shigeru told Saika through telepathy that they should call it a day. Saika excused herself, saying she had enough fun. On their way out, Saika noticed Kato's bruises and healed him. Shocked, he asked why she helped him. Proudly, she said it was because she was a great mage. Moved by her kindness, Kato begged her to run and never come back to the casino. He revealed that Kajita was after her and every other rich person he could exploit. Shigeru advised Kato to escape as well, but Kato admitted he couldn't quit or he'd end up dead. So instead, he begged them to expose the casino's darkness. Right then, Riz and Aldine arrived. Confused, Saika asked why Riz was with the hero, but Riz was too shaken to explain. Kato, moved to tears, exclaimed that a hero had come to save them. The commotion drew more staff, so Aldine told the girls to head to the inn while he and Shigeru confronted Kajita. Meanwhile, Kato revealed Kajita's terrifying skill. If someone lied to him, their life and skill would be sucked away. At the casino, chaos erupted as it was reported that the underground monsters had escaped. Kato urged people to evacuate, using the panic as a chance to bypass staff. But one staff member took the direct elevator down to the underground. At the same time, Saika appeared in her angel form. Not recognizing her, Seiji assumed she was an enemy. To protect her identity, Saika introduced herself as the Maiden of the Sun, El Caron, claiming she came because a black-haired girl had asked her for help. Hearing that, Seiji immediately welcomed her aid. Another uninvited guest appeared, Rize. Before Shigeru could call her name, she silenced him to conceal her identity. Seiji and Saika, however, were more amazed by her weapon than her presence. Seeing their reaction, Rize gave each of them a weapon as well. When they asked her name, she replied coldly, "I have no name. Call me Anonymous." Meanwhile, the elevator arrived, and they began their descent to the underground, where Kajita was waiting. Before leaving, Kato was told to evacuate. Shigeru activated his skills, warning everyone to be on guard and declaring that Kajita was his to face. Fearing Seiji and Saika might fall against a man willing to kill to achieve his goals, Shigeru muttered that he alone should confront such a monster.
When they arrive at the Colosseum, the group is shocked to see Kajita standing there with the lifeless body of his employee. Kajita smiles and invites them to join his twisted game called the Monster Hunter. To make matters worse, he demonstrates a stolen healing ability he had drained from his own subordinate. Disgusted by how Kajita treated his worker, Shigeru rushes off to evacuate the kidnapped rich man. Meanwhile, Seiji and the others step into the arena, only for Kajita to cut the lights and force them to participate in the Monster Hunter Challenge. Their opponent is a massive synthesized monster. The beast immediately spits fire, but the demon girl cancels it out with her magic. Then, the monster takes to the skies, swooping down with deadly attacks. The demon girl quickly identifies it as a level 80 monster with a dark attribute, meaning Seiji's power is the most effective against it. Seiji steps forward and clashes with the monster. But in the middle of the fight, one of the monster's reflected attacks nearly hits Saika, until Rize jumps in to save her just in time. With no choice, Seiji continues the battle, pushing his strength to the limit. After escorting the rich man to safety, Shigeru returns, only to find that the fight is already over, with Seiji piercing the monster through with a finishing strike. Saika immediately heals his injuries, but Rize scolds Seiji furiously, telling him to raise his defense now that he has leveled up. Just as they begin to catch their breath, the announcer declares the next round, and this time, two level 200 monsters emerge from the shadows. The fight begins again. Shigeru uses his skill to slow the monsters, then breaks away to hunt down Kajita himself. Hidden in his secret chamber, Kajita laughs while releasing even more monsters into the arena. Using his tracking ability, Shigeru finally finds Kajita. Kajita tries to strike him down, but Shigeru easily blocks every attack. He realizes the chamber is actually a monster synthesizing facility. When Shigeru demands to know Kajita's motives, Kajita rants about how the rich lie, cheat, and trample over the poor, just as they once did to his parents. He declares it his duty to purify them. Shigeru tells him he's walking the path of destruction and urges him to surrender, but Kajita laughs, revealing his level is 521. He claims not even an army could touch him. Unimpressed, Shigeru asks how trampling the innocent makes him any different from those he despises. Enraged, Kajita lashes out, but Shigeru punches him, sending him flying and drawing blood, to Kajita's shock. Back in the arena, Seiji and the others struggle against the last monster, whose attributes are far stronger than before. Seiji fights with all his might, determined to finish quickly and regroup with Shigeru. Meanwhile, Shigeru offers Kajita a final chance to surrender. Kajita refuses, spitting insults and declaring it's time to show the power of a god. Confident that Shigeru only invested in strength, he switches to magic and summons his trump card, a one-eyed monster with attributes maxed out at 9999. Shigeru is stunned to see such a creature, but Kajita grins, ordering it to unleash lightning. The attack roars down, but Shigeru cancels it effortlessly with ice magic. With a single strike, he slashes through and destroys the godlike monster. Kajita stands frozen in disbelief, cannot believe an epic fighter could wield such magic. But Shigeru reveals the truth. One can hide without lying. His real occupation is the almighty god, with every stat reaching 1,000,000,005. Kajita's own skill fails to activate in the face of that revelation. Shigeru explains that he wasn't lying about being an epic fighter, since Seiji was the one who gave him that class. Kajita, furious that someone he called a pig is truly divine, charges with his knife. But before he can strike, a spear pierces him from another dimension. A mysterious masked girl appears, mocking Kajita for daring to defy the one man who can truly synthesize magical beasts. She reveals that the finger rings found earlier belonged to the real creator of the one-eyed monster, someone Kajita killed afterward. Kajita, broken, mumbles that he did it for her because she wanted to see a new god and the four holy beasts. But the girl coldly denies it. When Kajita accuses her of lying, he blurts out the shocking truth, calling her the almighty god herself. Shigeru reels at the revelation. The girl smirks and floats toward him, casually asking if he'd like to chat since he's also an almighty god. Shigeru instinctively backs away, keeping his distance, muttering that she feels even stronger than him. To make matters worse, she's a woman, and contact with her would be fatal to his composure. By time he asks why she killed Kajita, she explains that even though they were in the same organization, the Ordnung Spear, Kajita was nothing more than a worshipper. Shigeru mistakes it for the spear's name, but she corrects him. The spear is just a symbol. The Ordnung Spears are actually an alliance of reincarnated people, misfits with unbalanced attributes, gathered to maintain balance in this world. Like vigilantes. When Shigeru asks if she's their leader, she clarifies that she's just a mercenary who removes nuisances like Kajita. She even points out that she knows how attribute points work, nicknaming him Ugly Mug Samurai Boy. She admits she's lonely and bored of always being unmatched and asks him to be her friend. Shigeru agrees to friendship but refuses to join her organization. He has his own duty to guide his party in this world. He invites her to join instead, but she smirks and tells him he is not the god she's looking for. Instead, she warns that she will become his obstacle. Suddenly, Kajita stirs again, draining her life force and lunging for the kill. But before he can land a blow, she banishes him into her dimension. Her mask slips, revealing her face. She jokes that she isn't even wearing makeup, then decides to take her leave. Before stepping into the dimensional rift, she finally introduces herself as Karina and disappears, leaving Shigeru alone in the secret room. After Karina left, Shigeru used a skill to destroy the monster's synthesizing room. A week later, they celebrated their victory against Kajita, receiving a large reward. On the day of payment, Seiji refused the money, insisting he did it for justice. But Shigeru quickly pulled him aside, explaining that if they didn't accept, the public office would be in trouble since the money would have nowhere to go. In the end, they only received half the reward since Hiro Aldine and the others were nowhere to be found. Seiji quietly mentioned Kajita's tragic ending, dying by his own collapsed castle. Shigeru muttered that he told the party Kajita died in a fallen accident, but never once revealed anything about Ordnung Spear or the almighty god Karina. Later, Saika asked how they should use the money now that they were rich. Seiji scolded her to use the casino winnings wisely or risk going broke, but Saika suggested using the money to strengthen the party, just as he had before. Relieved by her answer, they all raised their glasses and toasted again the next day. Shigeru confided in Seiji about the Ordnung Spear, an alliance of reincarnated people unable to live as normal citizens. Since Seiji aimed to become a hero, they might stand as a hindrance in his path. While they conversed, Kato appeared after finishing his police interview. He called Seiji a hero, but Seiji denied being Aldine, even though it was obvious. Kato then informed them that the rich customer from the casino was seeking bodyguards to return to his town. Both Seiji and Shigeru accepted after learning the man was an arms dealer. Shigeru prayed it wouldn't be his former boss, but fate revealed otherwise. It was Sakurai Heizo that on departure day, Heizo greeted Seiji casually, but when he saw Saika, his demeanor shifted into that of a gentleman. After introductions, they were ready to leave. Unseen in the distance, Karina watched, silently stalking Shigeru. The party arrived at town by nightfall, welcomed with a grand feast. Shigeru muttered that his boss once used to watch his uric acid levels, but now no longer cared, relying on a healer after drinking. Saika's eyes sparkled at the sight of the extravagant food. While dining, Heizo told Seiji he knew nothing of the black flag Seiji asked about, but suggested one of his employees might know. He invited them to visit his factory that night. Reese and Saika entered their room to find clothes prepared for them. They tried them on, Too large for Rize, too small for Saika. The next day, they visited Heizo's factory. A guide led them on a tour, and Saika and Rize eagerly rushed off to see more, while Seiji and Shigeru stayed behind to ask about Ordnung's spear. Showing the black flag, they asked if the guide had seen it before. He responded that he once witnessed a customer order 1,000 spears, the workers wearing cloth matching the flag. But after delivery, they vanished. Suddenly, Rize came running, panting, calling out for Saika. Fearing the worst, they rushed to her, only to find her advertising. The guide, impressed, even tried recruiting her. Back in their room, Seiji discussed creating a company. With over 1 million riras in hand, he wanted to oppose Ordnung's spear by recruiting people before they strayed. Shigeru refused, warning of the danger, since anyone could write anything in their special notes. Seiji, however, pressed on, determined to save people from the curse of their notes, which could neither be edited nor resisted. Shigeru still refused, arguing that if a traitor existed, Seiji's special notes would prevent him from cutting ties. Instead, he suggested something bolder, that Seiji should become king. Seiji was shocked, but Shigeru explained that by gathering trustworthy people to govern, Seiji would avoid being restricted by his notes. Seiji misunderstood, thinking of appointing someone else as company president and recruiting with high standards. Thanking Shigeru for the idea, he invited him to be the founding member, the person he trusted most. Shigeru revealed his earning was only 1/10,000th, making him unfit for business. But Seiji insisted, declaring his trust and extending his hand. Reluctantly, Shigeru agreed. The next day, Seiji revealed his company plans to Saika and Rize. They agreed easily. To break the tension, Seiji proposed the name Burning Flare Humans. Both immediately refused. If they left Heizo's town and returned to Valeria. A whole month passed. Finally, their company opened, appointing Kei, a casino worker, as figurehead. Kato joined as well. Seiji began explaining the motto of the company and their roles in helping people with special notes. By a lucky draw from Saika, the name was chosen, Visible Light. Another purpose was set, to gather information on Ordnung's spear. Training began. Shigeru instructed Saika, while Rize used her ability to read windows for background checks. Seiji handled applications. Soon, many registered. One man had written, "I need no money," in his special note, leaving him struggling. Saika offered to pay him in goods and items instead, which made him happy. Seeing this, Shigeru felt proud. Saika had grown from a crybaby into a dependable employee. Then the last applicant entered. Shigeru trembled, a bad feeling rising within him at the sight of the woman.
That wraps up today's recap. What do you think about this episode? Drop your thought in the comment. If you like this recap, don't forget to like, subscribe and turn on the notifications so you never miss the next one.